We need to talk about this story for a moment. A young Nigerian student has been brutally beaten to death by a group of Chinese men in the Philippines, all because he asked his boss, who is a Chinese woman, to pay him for the time he worked with them. So the victim, who goes by the name of Chibuikem Emmanuel, was said to be a student in the Philippines doing his master's, and at the same time, he was also working and trying to make ends meet. It was said Ikem also had a girlfriend, or his fiancée, named Diane, who is also Filipino. And on the 19th of October 2023, Ikem and Diane went to Cebu for a call center job. Ikem was recruited as a call representative, while his fiancée Diane was hired to be a recruiter. Since the call center company was a Chinese woman's own and happens to belong to a group of Chinese people, Diane's job was to hire Filipinos into the business. And everything seemed to be going fine. Everything seemed to be going well for the two of them until the 21st of October 2023, barely 3 days after they've been hired to work in this call center. That was when the trouble began. According to a Nigerian student who also worked in the call center and other Nigerian witnesses, it was said that their employer, that is their boss, learned that Ikem and Diane were involved, learned that they were dating, and reminded them that there was a strong policy against office and romance, that their relationship is not exactly welcomed in the call center business. More like it was against work policy for two people to be involved. And it was suggested to them that one of them would have to quit so the other one can stay. But that arrangement would not work for Ikem and Diane because they really wanted to be together. They really wanted to work together in the same work environment. And so when that suggestion was presented to them that one of them had to leave for the other one to stay, Ikem said that they both would go, that they don't have to stay. Rather than one of them to leave, they both would quit and stop working. But that did not sit well with their boss. I don't know, it's almost as if the boss did not like the idea that the two of them would have to go. But it wasn't an issue for the most part. This is where the big problem started evolving. Since they've only worked there for a few days, not even up to a week, they were most likely not required to be paid per se, maybe for the time they've worked. However, for Diane, who was a recruiter who was giving other Filipinos employment, her agreement stated that she would get some kind of commission for every person she hires that is of Filipino descent. And in the few days they worked, she had hired a couple of Filipinos for the company, and so she's entitled to a commission. And when it was time for them to leave, since they both don't want to work there anymore, Diane requested her commission, but the company, the boss, said that they will only give her the commission by the end of the month. But that was not fitting for their plans. That was not going to favor them because they came from another city, Manila, to Cebu to work. So now that they're no longer working here, they have to travel back to where they came from. And that was Ikem's argument, that they had to go back to where they came from. So it's important that their money is given to them right away instead of waiting by the end of the month. And this is where the argument began. The employer said she would only pay them by the end of the month and not immediately. And Ikem wanted it immediately, and this started an argument in their office, in their workplace, in the call center there, and it became chaotic. Even the other workers in the call center, hearing what was going on, also suggested to the boss that they be paid immediately because they are traveling back to another town, another city, and they didn't live in the Cebu there, they had to go back to Manila. And they suggested that it was only normal for the boss to pay them right away. How hard can it be? Why does the boss have to wait a whole month to pay them? And while this argument was going on, the boss immediately called a group of Chinese men. And those group of men came to the company, came into the office, and everyone thought those men were policemen. They thought they were some kind of security agents, not knowing that the group of men that their employer had called were thugs. And not to disrupt the workflow that was going on that day, this group of men took Ikem and Diane out of the building to the backyard to have a discussion with them. It seemed to the other workers that the group of men were coming to, find a way to settle this dispute and come to a conclusion and an agreement. That was what it looked like when they took Diane and Ikem out of the call center building to the backyard. So everyone continued working, everyone continued their business, thinking the issues were being settled. Only for a few minutes later, Diane runs into the company and began screaming and shouting for help. When everyone, including the Nigerians who worked there, went outside to see what she was shouting about, they did not see Ikem again. Ikem was gone. Ikem had been taken by this group of men. And so the Nigerians went back into the office to confront the boss, their madam that called this group of men and asked where did they take Ikem to? Where was Ikem? And that was when the boss replied to them that they are taking Ikem to a police station, that he has been taken to the police station, and that is where they want to settle the issue. As they were talking, a group of other people in the neighborhood, people who walked around the call center, hearing the chaos and the fight and the quarrel, called police. And when the police came, they explained the issue to them. And so the police took Diane with them to the police station that they believed Ikem had been taken to. So they were hoping that when they get to the police station, they will see Ikem there and, continue settling the case. But the problem is when they got to the police station, Ikem wasn't there. Ikem was not taken to the police station. And that was when they discovered that the group of people who had come, the group of Chinese men that had been called by the boss, were not security agents, were not policemen, they were not affiliated with any agency at all, that they were most likely thugs. And it did not even take long. As they were talking, a car stopped by the police station and dropped Ikem by the door. At the time Ikem was dropped at the police station, he was badly beaten. He was still alive, but his hands and mouth and legs had been tied and gagged, and he had been visibly physically attacked. And the men, when dropping Ikem off, told the police that Ikem had sexually assaulted someone at his workplace, and that was why he was beaten like that. And the men ran away. They left Ikem there and vanished. Ikem was rushed to the hospital, but unfortunately, he lost his life. He did not make it. He died. His death sparked outrage amongst the people there in the Philippines. They were really angry at what had happened to Ikem. And right about now, everyone is calling for justice for Ikem. Everyone is speaking up against this injustice that had happened to this boy. The Philippines police are looking for the boss, and they're also looking for the 6 Chinese men she hired. It seemed like the boss is on the run, and those men are also on the run. But the last I checked, the group of men had been caught and arrested, and they have been charged because their pictures were everywhere, and eventually they were found and arrested. Nothing has been said if the boss, the woman that caught the men, had also been caught. I don't think she has been arrested yet. She's probably still hiding and still on the run. We have heard so much of Chinese men's hatred for black men in their country, but it's really sad that they had to still take their hatred into the Philippines, where it's not even their land, and they are still treating black people like lower class citizens. A lot of people are worried that those Chinese men may get away with it. A lot of people are worried that they may not face the full extent of the law, and that is why many people are calling for this story to be as viral as it should, because they believe Ikem needs justice.